The FIM Motocross World Championship for 2004 is now split into MX1 and MX2 divisions, MX1 being the premier class. MX1 includes bikes up to 450cc 4-stroke and no lower than 250cc 2-stroke. In this review, 16 MX1 GPs, each round comprising 2 races, features the finest riders on the planet contesting the World Motocross Championship of 2004. The opening round of the series brings us to Flanders in Belgium, and an unexpected hole shot for the 18-year-old Kevin Strybos on a 450cc factory 4-stroke Suzuki. But further back downfield, a clash between Antoine Mayo and the experienced multi-world champion Joel Smets puts the other factory Suzuki on the floor. Smets restarts absolutely dead last. At the front, his teammate Strybos is leading the way ahead of number 2, the former champion Michael Pichon on the Italian-based Tisciali Honda team. Pichon chases Strybos, and behind him, number 8, Brian Jorgensen on the second of the Tisciali Hondas, alongside number 7, Cedric Malotte on Rinaldi Yamaha's leading machine. His teammate Stefan Everts, the reigning world champion, suffering from a rib injury sustained during practice. Pichon, his front wheel grabbed by the soft sand, has just taken the lead. When he goes down, he frantically remounts as Brian Jorgensen sails past, and he's just ahead of Cedric Malotte's Yamaha. How quickly can the Frenchman regain his composure? Jorgensen leads, Pichon number 2, Malotte number 7, and behind them Steve Ramon on the 450cc factory KTM. But Strybos, showing maturity beyond his years, 18 years old, in the lead of the first race of 2004. But down he goes in the whoops, and he's passed by Jorgensen, Pichon, Malotte and Steve Ramon, who very quickly forces his way to the front ahead of Honda duo Brian Jorgensen and Michael Pichon, first, second and third. Pichon still exerting the pressure on his teammate, trying to find a way through into second place. Jorgensen, former British 125 champion in the year 2000 with Dixon's Yamaha. Side by side, he glances across to see what his teammate's up to. Pichon is trying to ride round him. Jorgensen tries to block the way. He forces Pichon almost into the trackside fencing. But Michael is still there. And this time he cleverly moves to the right and pulls a move on Jorgensen, goes through into second place, and Cedric Malotte also pressing hard on Yamaha number 7. At the front, no one is pressing the reigning 125cc world champion, the stylish 24-year-old Belgian Steve Ramon, on his home territory, of course, here in Zolder. He is headed for a cool victory in his first ever outing in MX1 Grand Prix. And the 450cc 4-stroke KTM that Joel Smets developed in 2003 headed for victory in race 1, and Cedric Malotte on the L&M Rinaldi Yamaha has forced through past the Hondas into second place. So heading for a Belgian 1-2 here in the Grand Prix of Flanders, the opening round of 2004. Steve Ramon, the checkered flag almost in sight now. And a home victory then for the Belgian fans here in Zolder. Ramon flicks the KTM across the finishing line. That will do nicely. Second place goes to L&M Yamaha's Cedric Malotte. Third place to Michael Pichon. Fourth place to Brian Jorgensen. And a thrilled Kurt Nickel, the KTM team manager on the right-hand side there, greets his new star rider of 2004. Victory for KTM in the opening race at Zolder. The second 35-minute plus 2-lap race erupts off the start line at the former road racing venue in Flanders, and a huge pile-up going into turn 1. Almost half the field decimated, and A complete melee as everybody picks up their bikes. Thankfully, everybody is pretty much unharmed. It's a question of whether there's been any damage to the machinery down there. Number 53, Paul Cooper, is one of the fallers, and down also in a separate incident goes the reigning world champion Stefan Everts, number 72, on his Rinaldi Yamaha. Everts, suffering from sore ribs after a practice crash, picks himself up, and Mikael Pichon also involved. Number 53, Paul Cooper in the background, the former British champion, and Mikael Pichon desperately trying to restart their 450 four-stroke Hondas. Meantime, at the front, once again, it's the 18-year-old Kevin Strybos on the Gabor Suzuki, leading the Cass Honda. Our first glimpse of Josh Coppins, number 31, in second place, and Cedric Malott in pursuit on the Rinaldi. Mikael Pichon struggling at the back of the pack after his third place in race one. And at the front, the British-based Cass Honda team in the lead for the first time. Josh Coppins, the 27-year-old Kiwi, ahead of Kevin Strybos, and number 6, the Spaniard Javier Garcia-Vico on his Honda. Ramon storms through into third place, ahead of Strybos and the Spaniard, whose factory Aprilia isn't ready yet, so he's actually out on a black-painted Honda. Garcia-Vico loses out though to Cedric Malott, who also forces his way past Steve Ramon, and now is side by side with leader Josh Coppins. Cass Honda, Rinaldi Yamaha, and it's the Yamaha that leaps past into the lead. Cedric Malott then, could he be going for his second ever Grand Prix victory here? If he wins the second race, he will get the overall verdict from Steve Ramon, whose teammate Kenneth Gunderson, number 10, is now scrapping for fourth place with Suzuki's Kevin Strybos. The young Norwegian, the even younger Belgian just in front of him. Strybos looking for his first podium finish in MX1. Kenneth Gunderson pressing hard on KTM number 10. A mixture of rain and sunshine here, rather spookily at Zolder in the Grand Prix of Flanders. Gunderson spent last year, of course, on the 250cc two-stroke Kawasaki. And this is Steve Ramon, first race winner, fighting to get on terms with Cedric Malott and the Yamaha. But he goes down, a mistake, just loses momentum, the front wheel digs in, Steve Ramon falls, but just manages to collect the bike, keep the engine running, which is the important thing. Strybos, though, has closed the gap. He's got rid of Kenneth Gunderson, and he can now see Steve Ramon right there ahead of him. Steve Ramon still in third place, but Kevin Strybos, the bit between his teeth, beginning to wear the reigning 125 world champion down. Can Ramon hang on? Kevin Strybos proving Sylvain Gabor's faith in him at Suzuki. Loving this sandy going, he really is a terrific sand rider, and he leaps past Steve Ramon. Ramon perhaps losing his rhythm after that fall. Kevin Strybos dives through into third place. Ahead of them, of course, Cedric Malott and Josh Coppins, lying first and second for Yamaha and Honda. Third Suzuki, fourth KTM, 4 different makes of machine in the leading places here in Zolder. Cedric Malott, cool in the sand, looks likely to take this second race win, and with it, the overall verdict. Getting a bit out of shape in the ruts. He's still only got a 30-metre lead over number 31, Josh Coppins. And Coppins, as you know, never gives up. Runner-up in the World Championship, of course, 2 years ago behind Mikael Pichon. Now riding for Harry Ainsworth's Cass Honda team, and racing in the British Open Championship back in the UK. Malott, the 25-year-old Belgian, still the pressure on though for the experienced Kiwi, who's been racing Grand Prix since he was 18 years old when he first arrived in Europe with Suzuki, and he's closing that gap on the leader. But as we enter the closing stages, And Coppins still presses on. Cedric Malott glances over his shoulder. He knows he's got it. The win in race 2 and overall victory to the Belgian. Round 2, and the rain in Spain has fallen mainly on Belpigue. Mikael Pichon has taken pole position ahead of Kenneth Gunderson and Stefan Everts, but it's the second Tishali Honda of number 8, Brian Jorgensen, that thrusts itself to the front. The Dane leads. Absolutely filthy conditions here in Spain. Deep rutted swamp of a track. And already the riders in mid-pack scarcely able to see where they're going, as Brian Jorgensen, the only clean man on the circuit, leads the way. And Cedric Malott, the winner of the first round, is one of the men in trouble. He goes down bike number 7, and once you're in that sort of trouble, you're not easily going to get out of it. Jorgensen leads, the amazing Kevin Strybos in second place. Clean from the back at least. So Suzuki chases Honda. In third place, Stefan Everts showing on the leaderboard for the first time this year. An unaccustomed green crash helmet because he's got some foam stuck to the front of it to help combat the filthy conditions. And Monique Bevoltz, veteran, former World Championship leader back in his Suzuki days in the mid-90s, he goes down on the Evolution Yamaha. Sixth place, Joel Smets. Nasty conditions, of course, for a man who's suffering from a bad knee injury that he picked up pre-season in Italy. Brian Jorgensen still at the front, but only for a few moments longer. He goes down in the whoops as a trials riding Kevin Strybos tiptoes past into the lead. Everts also closes down on the Dane as Jorgensen picks himself up and gets moving again. Still with those elbows up, showing the style, but Mikael Pichon, he has completely sunk almost without trace, and there is just no way that he's going to get the Tishali Honda out of there. Pichon then, a steaming end to his race. Kevin Strybos showing immense maturity. The 18-year-old Belgium in the lead for Suzuki. As the man from Mars, Mikael Pichon, trudges disconsolately back to the pits without his Honda. And his teammate also in trouble. A blown engine for Brian Jorgensen. The steaming, overheating Honda comes to a halt. And Joel Smets is down on the second of the Suzukis. So bedlam here in Belpigue as the weather conditions worsen. It almost gets worse, of course, when the rain stops. The quagmire gets deeper and stickier. Joel Smets with Ken de Deeker, number 80, right behind him. And the battle on between Kenneth Gunderson and Josh Coppins for third place. Coppins, number 31, Cass Honda. Kenneth Gunderson, the Norwegian, on bike number 10, the factory KTM. At the moment, Coppins, second in the second race at Zolder, lying third here in Belpigue. In fifth place, on home ground, on his black Honda, is number 6, Javier Garcia-Vico. The big Spanish gypsy keeping both feet down and making sure he stays upright. Yellow flags flying though on one of the slippery, treacherous uphills as leaders Strybos and Everts skate balletically past. Stefan Everts closing the gap all the time. The experienced 31-year-old, 7 times world champion. Hunting down the leader and looking, of course, for his own first race win of 2004. Over the hilltop, still finding enormous airtime as they're landing the squelchy ruts at the bottom. Everts without his goggles, he could do with getting past. He's almost alongside, and as he passes the pit boards, it's Everts who forces his way to the front. Strybos, a nonetheless splendid second. Stefan Everts, winner of more World Championships and Grand Prix than any other rider in history. And it's Josh Coppins who also forces past Kevin Strybos and through into second place. In these conditions, experience counts for everything. And there are none more experienced, of course, than Stefan Everts, Won his first World Championship, the 125cc World title with Suzuki in 1991. Josh Coppins in second place for Cass Honda. Remarkable comeback for a man who suffered horrendous injuries in America 18 months ago. And onto the last lap, number 24, Kevin Strybos, still there in third place. Proving to be Suzuki's best bet in the early stages of the season. His teammate Joel Smets in trouble with that knee injury. Everts prepares to take the checkered flag, and his first victory, surely not his last, of 2004. And that will put him right back into championship contention. The checkered flag goes out. Everts wins in Spain. Second for Josh Coppins, third place for Kevin Strybos. Fourth, Kenneth Gunderson's KTM, ahead of Garthia Vico, Ken Dedeka, Steve Ramon and Tanel Leok. The second race in Belpeig, Mikael Pichon once more on pole position ahead of Gunderson, Everts and Brian Jorgensen. Smets 3, Everts 72, number 8 Jorgensen. Who's going to be quickest out of the gate? And not a good start for Stefan Everts, initially shut out as they come off the gate. Into the lead goes the fleet-footed Brian Jorgensen, once more ahead of Josh Coppins and Stefan Everts. Kevin Strybos in fourth place. And a horrible moment there for Cedric Malott, who went out of course of race 1. Jorgensen leads it ahead of Coppins, Everts, number 24 Kevin Strybos on the leading Suzuki. But Strybos is in trouble at the end of the whoops. His bike stops. He looks down in disbelief, and the 18-year-old Belgian superstar is out. Almost immediately inheriting that fourth place is his teammate, number 3, Joel Smets. But Strybos in terrible trouble with the factory 450. Remember, they've only been developing that bike for about 6 or 7 months. And number 12, Danny Tabers on his Yamaha, also in trouble on lap 1. No problems, though, for Brian Jorgensen, coolly leading ahead now of Stefan Everts, who's got the better of Josh Coppins and moved through into second place. The sun's coming out. There's even a dry line on the track here at Belpeig. But of course that means there's only really one line. Third place, number 31, Josh Coppins. Behind him, Garthia Vico, Smets and Paul Cooper. A brilliant start for British Open champion Paul Cooper, formerly of course from Cape Town in South Africa, riding the Multitech Honda. This is Garthia Vico getting a lot of trackside support from the Spanish fans. Brian Jorgensen looking in absolutely immaculate form, and of course pristine, because he's been at the front since the moment the gate dropped. Everts in second place. Notice the white handkerchief hanging from his waistband in case he needs it. And the virtual GP leader, of course, if Stefan Everts stays second, that will be plenty good enough for overall victory here in Spain. Perfectly poised, the motocross maestro, Stefan Everts in second place. Joel Smets attacking Garthia Vico for fourth place. The Suzuki straining to get alongside the Honda. First he tries right, then left, then right again. But with just that one dry racing line, it's pretty tricky getting past. Suddenly, he drives for the inside, doesn't make it through, and he's in trouble on the whoops. Joel Smets, just overreaching himself, struggles through the whoops and loses all his momentum. Now he's got to catch once again. At the front, Stefan Everts is doing just that. He's closing down on the leader, Brian Jorgensen, as they follow that one dry route through the ruts and the mud of the earlier rainfall. Lapped riders kindly pulling to one side if you're lucky. And Jorgensen picking his way through that one guaranteed bit of traction there in that rut. Look at it, weaving its way like a roller coaster around the hillsides here at Belpeig. Everts going for a different line this time, dives down the inside and cleverly forces Brian Jorgensen wide. Yogi isn't able to respond, and Stefan Everts takes the lead and could be headed for his 73rd Grand Prix victory. Jorgensen in second place. Once again, fall is on the steep hill. And it's Yoshi Atsuta, the teammate of number 31, Josh Coppins at CAS Honda. The former Japanese champion goes down. Stefan Everts, no such problem for him. The man who has been virtually unbeatable since joining the Rinaldi Yamaha squad for the 2001 season. World champion 2001, 2002 and 2003. Can he do it again in 2004? Massive motivation, the man from Monte Carlo. Jorgensen now almost 14 seconds down in second place. And just behind him, following him into the whoops there, Josh Coppins on CAS Honda. So Honda's second and third, but L&M Rinaldi Yamaha Stefan Everts looking like he's going to take victory here in Belpuig. Almost showboating to the line now, waving to the fans, acknowledging his supremacy. The checkered flag, or should that be tablecloth, goes out to greet Stefan Everts, second race winner in Belpuig and overall winner of the Spanish Grand Prix, round 2 of the MX1 World Championships. Behind him, Brian Jorgensen and Josh Coppins. Joel Smets finally getting the better of Garcia Vico for 4th place, ahead of Kenneth Gunderson and Mikael Pichon. 8th place for Marnik Bervolts. Steve Ramon and Cedric Malott 9th and 10th, and Englishman Paul Cooper just heading off Motorvision's Tanel Leok. Overall victory for Stefan Everts means that he takes the lead in the World Championship ahead of Josh Coppins, Cedric Malott and Steve Ramon. The weather's better at Agueda in Portugal. We return to Agueda for the first time since the year 2000, and Steve Ramon denies Mikael Pichon a 3rd consecutive pole position in the dying moments. But Ramon, number 11, can't quite snatch the whole shot. It's that man, Stefan Everts, who grabs the advantage in the first turn. Oh, and down goes Josh Coppins, and his bike gets comprehensively run over. Coppins desperately remounts, bangs that clutch lever back into line and tries to fire up the 450cc Honda, but he's going to have a huge amount of work to do. Meanwhile, Mikael Pichon is 3rd behind Kenneth Gunderson, number 10. They're ahead of Joel Smets, Kevin Strybos, and a great start for the Japanese star Yoshi Atsuta, ahead of Paul Cooper, Ramon and KTM, Chambers KTM's Englishman, the veteran Christian Burnham. Side by side, Kenneth Gunderson and Mikael Pichon. Pichon makes a move on the former 125cc star. Gunderson, of course, riding a 250 De Groot 2-stroke Kawasaki in 2003. So this is really his debut year on the 454-stroke. But the Norwegian from Oslo riding strongly right in the wheel tracks of Stefan Everts. Oh, Everts in masterly control of the Rinaldi Yamaha. Gunderson second. And Gunderson challenging for the lead. Kurt Nickel, of course, putting faith in the young men in his team for 2004. Steve Ramon and Kenneth Gunderson. And already some trackside tape has got caught around the foot peg of number 2, Mikael Pichon, as he once more forces his way to the front and starts challenging the leaders. And Pichon dives underneath Kenneth Gunderson. Puts the power on early. Glanced us down at that trackside tape that he's got around his foot peg and hopes it's not going to get any worse, because of course stuff like that can get wound up in a rear sprocket and drag you to a halt. Pichon, number 2, in second place, but his great rival Stefan Everts at the moment has the advantage at the front. Almost 3 seconds clear of Pichon. Everts, it's hard to believe he lost a couple of years in 1999 and 2000 with injury. A remarkable comeback from that. Mikael Pichon, of course, lost the second half of last season through injury and was subsequently dropped, somewhat surprisingly, by Suzuki. And here is Suzuki's Joel Smets, having left KTM at the end of 2003. The multi-world champion, just 2 days short of his 35th birthday, and still almost as fast as ever. He's in 4th place, right behind him, pressing hard, L&M Rinaldi Yamaha's Cedric Malot, 10 years his junior at 25, the man from Namur. But the pressure is suddenly relieved for Joel Smets as Cedric Malot goes down. While Mikael Pichon, number 2, turns up the heat at the front and closes the gap on the leader. Everts in the lead, right behind him. Mikael Pichon turning in the fastest laps of the race. Has Everts got anything left in reserve? Pichon, a master of the art of finding alternative lines, seeking a way past Stefan Everts. 3 laps to go. The Tishali Honda guys hang out, an encouraging sign to Pichon. Mikael Pichon, winner here. The last time we came to Agueda in the year 2000, a double race winner then. Can he catch Stefan Everts in the closing stages of race 1 now? It seems not. The Belgian responds. In amongst the back markers, he deals better with the back markers. Pichon comes again. The gap, 2.2 seconds as they cross the line. It's smaller than that now. The L&M Rinaldi Yamaha guys hanging right over the fence as the guys go into the last lap. Everts leads, Pichon in 2nd place. And the Portuguese crowd up on its feet. The checkered flag goes out. Stefan Everts just takes the victory by a half a dozen bike lengths from Mikael Pichon. Kenneth Gunderson an excellent 3rd ahead of Steve Ramon and the remounted Cedric Malot. But out went Joel Smets, leaving Strybos, his teammate, in 6th place ahead of Paul Cooper and Christian Burnham. A good result for the Englishman. Joel Smets back in 11th place ahead of Yoshi Atsuta. Portugal, race 2. Mikael Pichon leaps into action from the inside gate, but is squeezed out on the inside of the first turn. And Joel Smets gets his first whole shot of the year. Smets leads for Suzuki, but Brian Jorgensen has gone down on the Tishali Honda. His teammate Mikael Pichon at the front now ahead of Joel Smets and Stefan Everts. So Pichon, the winner here 4 years ago, in the lead on Honda. 2nd place for Joel Smets, 3rd place that other great Belgian Stefan Everts. A huge crowd in this natural valley alongside the fir trees in Portugal. As Joel Smets stalls, he stalls the Suzuki. They've been having a few problems with the engine keeping running in slow turns, and the Suzuki stops once again, leaving a frustrated Smets to try and restart. Pichon in the lead then, and he's got a gap now of over 4 seconds on Stefan Everts in 2nd place. 3rd place for Josh Coppins, the New Zealander on the Cass Honda. Cedric Malot versus Christian Burnham. This is the battle for 7th place. The veteran 31-year-old Burnham on the Chambers KTM. And Cedric Malot soars past across the tabletop and snatches 7th place. But Joel Smets, a disconsolate Joel Smets, is out of the race. Number 2, Mikael Pichon at the front. Now almost 7.5 seconds clear of Stefan Everts in 2nd place on the Rinaldi Yamaha. Perfect conditions as Josh Coppins floats over one of the many jumps here at Agueda in 3rd place. And he's keeping Stefan Everts honest, keeping him in sight. Josh Coppins, runner-up in the championship just 2 years ago, still determined to become world champion. 27 years old now. He's third. Fourth place for Ken Dedeka, former 650cc class rider of 2003. Kenneth Gunderson and Yoshi Atsuta up to sixth place, ahead of Cedric Malott, Christian Burnham and Paul Cooper. Strybos, Ramon and Antti Pirinen rounding out the top 12. Everts 2.5 seconds clear of Josh Coppins. Coppins, it must be frustrating knowing you've got the two fastest guys in the world just ahead of you all the time. Miguel Pichon, he's the leader, setting the fastest lap once again. The Frenchman from just near Le Mans leading the man who now lives in Monte Carlo, Stefan Everts, whose wife Kelly is expecting their first child later in the summer. Antti Pirinen on the Italian TM, showing well in 9th place ahead of Gunderson, Garcia Vico and RWJ Honda's James Noble. But as Cedric Malott attacks Ken Dedeka and snatches 5th place, we've lost Christian Burnham and Paul Cooper in a horrendous pile-up. Burnham crashes his Chambers KTM and the unlucky Paul Cooper lands right on top of the bike and is thrown from his Multitech Honda and breaks his collarbone. So Cooperman is out. This is Kevin Strybos in 7th place on Suzuki number 24, not relishing these conditions quite as much as he did the sand of the opening round in Zolder. He's fighting now with Steve Ramon for 6th place. And Ramon steals past the Suzuki. And in these dry, dusty, rough conditions, the two Belgians just not enjoying it quite as much as the sand, whereas Mikael Pichon loves these conditions. These are pure French racing conditions, and Mikael Pichon showboating to the crowd here in Portugal. He's now got a lead of close to 20 seconds on Stefan Everts as he heads for victory in race 2 and overall victory, his first Grand Prix win of the year. Pichon, double world champion for Suzuki, and of course a twice 125cc Supercross champion in the USA with Pro Circuit Kawasaki back in the mid-90s. He takes the checkered flag, a victory wheelie for Mikael Pichon, Tishali Honda ahead of Stefan Everts and Josh Coppins. Malott 4th ahead of Ken Dedeka, a good result for the man who finished 30th in the 650 class last year. Steve Ramon 6th and Yoshi Atsuta snatches 7th place in the closing stages from Kevin Strybos. Pichon, overall victor on the grounds of the win in race 2 ahead of Stefan Everts on a tiebreaker. Cedric Malott 3rd overall. And that means that Everts has a commanding 26-point lead in the championship over Cedric Malott, who is just 1 point ahead of Steve Ramon, who in turn 4 points lead over 4th placed Josh Coppins. The unlucky Paul Cooper down there in 14th place, but that may be the end of the season for the plucky man from Cape Town. Round 4 brings us to the Euro circuit at Valkenswaard, down near Eindhoven in the south of Holland. And for the 3rd time in 4 Grand Prix, Mikael Pichon puts his Tishali Honda on pole position. The fast, sandy circuit. Steve Ramon relishing it. The Belgian number 11 on the factory KTM is at the front off the start. And a battle on for 3rd place involving Kevin Strybos, Joel Smets, Stefan Everts and Mikael Pichon. Steve Ramon chases Cedric Malott at the front, so the sandflies of Belgium absolutely relishing this choppy, deep circuit here at Valkenswaard. Mikael Pichon, the only intruder amongst the Belgian frontrunners here. Soaring through the air over the huge tabletops at the end of the lap. This is Stefan Everts. He's in 5th place behind Smets and ahead of the victor here last year, Mikael Pichon. Number 24, Strybos, getting horribly sideways over one of the huge jumps. This, of course, is where Yoshi Atsuta snapped his thigh 2 years ago in his first ever Grand Prix in Europe. And Joel Smets hanging it out on the Suzuki to fend off Stefan Everts. Terrific racing at the front, but almost all featuring the Belgians. Traditionally one of the strongest nations in motocross ever since the World Championships began in 1957, and in the 5 years prior to that, the European Championships. These are the Suzuki teammates: Kevin Strybos, aged 18, and the fella old enough to be his dad, 35-year-old Joel Smets, sweeps past. And down has gone. That may have been Steve Ramon who's gone down. It is. Steve Ramon goes down on the factory KTM just when he was looking so cool and in command in second place. The reigning 125 world champion frantically restarts as Stefan Everts attacks the Suzukis ahead of him. And Mikael Pichon has a grandstand view, especially as it's a grandstand view from 20 feet up in the air. Kevin Strybos, Stefan Everts. This is the leader, Cedric Malott. Hasn't seen the checkered flag, of course, in his favour since winning at Zolder, but now he has a handy advantage over Joel Smets in second place, Kevin Strybos third, Stefan Everts fourth, Mikael Pichon fifth. Kenneth Gunderson was also on the rostrum a year ago here in the Netherlands. Look at Stefan Everts, absolutely powers Speedway style out of the turn, but runs wide, and Kevin Strybos says thank you very much, grabs the advantage back. Mikael Pichon right behind the Yamaha and the Suzuki, but more classic Everts style. As feet pinned to the pegs, he rails the outside berm and grabs the place off Strybos. Malott leads, Smets second, Everts now through to third. Pichon has also passed Strybos, who was obviously unnerved by that move of Everts. Steve Ramon has remounted in sixth place ahead of teenager Ken de Decker, and Christian Burnham in eighth place ahead of Frenchman Christophe Martin. 10th place for Gunderson, who was third here last year. And 13th place for the brave and battered Yoshi Atsuta. Tanel Leox Motorvision Suzuki in 14th place. The Estonian Express riding, of course, for the British Motorvision team. Oh, and down goes Mikael Pichon, perhaps unsighted by the roost from Everts Yamaha. He digs the front wheel in and gets pitched over the bars. Cedric Malott, cleanest man here at Valkenswaard, mono-wheeling his Yamaha imperiously to victory. 11.4 seconds ahead of Joel Smets in second place. But Smets is coming under pressure now from Stefan Everts. Everts, whose first international experience here at Valkenswaard in the Motocross Nations back in 1990, when he was a kid racing for Suzuki. He'd finished third in the World 125 Championship, and he fought an imperious battle against the all-conquering Americans. They lost that day, but for Stefan Everts, it was the start of a fantastic career. And here he is putting the pressure now on Joel Smets. He dives for the inside line, and Joel is forced out over the berm. Stefan Everts takes second place. It's looking like an LNL Rinaldi 1-2 here for Malott and Everts. Round the fast, choppy, sandy circuit that first hosted a 250cc motocross Grand Prix 30 years ago in 1974. And it was won that day by Suzuki boss Sylvain Gabors. And here's one of his riders, Kevin Strybos, being hammered past by Mikael Pichon as the checkered flag goes out for Cedric Malott. He wins from Stefan Everts, race one, with third place going to Joel Smets, fourth place grabbed by Mikael Pichon in that late surge past Kevin Strybos. Sixth, Ken de Decker, seventh, Steve Ramon, eighth place for Kenneth Gunderson on the second 450 KTM, ninth place, the Chambers KTM of Englishman Christian Burnham. Bulldozers have flattened the start straight between races, and the second moto underway at Valkenswaard. High speed sweeps through the first turn. Mikael Pichon ruthlessly elbows aside number 3, Joel Smets on his Suzuki. Good starts also for Stefan Everts and Cedric Malott on the Rinaldi Yamahas. But it's last year's winner, number 2, Mikael Pichon at the front. The dust beginning to rise around the rough Euro circuit here at Valkenswaard. Pichon, Smets, Cedric Malott, Stefan Everts, they are the leaders. A Suzuki falls mid-pack, but the Suzuki in second place, Joel Smets, is still there ahead of the two Yamahas. Already cutting up rough and dusty, and if you argue with the paling fence here at Valkenswaard, you're in real trouble, especially when you find you can't get back on your motorcycle. Meanwhile, in the dust, Christophe Martin, the Frenchman, drops his Yamaha. Manages to keep the engine running, grabs the clutch, picks the bike up, and restarts. There's no one behind you now, Christophe. You just need look ahead. Number 2, Mikael Pichon, your French countryman, is the man at the front, but already the Yamahas are breaking through, and Stefan Everts is in pursuit of his bitter rival. Pichon checks over his left shoulder. Smets is third, fourth Malott. And once again, with the exception of Pichon, the low country experts are at the front. Josh Coppins is fifth. Kenneth Gunderson of Norway in sixth place. And this track so wickedly fast, punishingly fast, but watch the ruts. If you cross rut on takeoff or landing, it can be curtains. The classic style there on the outside line of Stefan Everts. Cedric Malott taking a tighter line, dropping his feet, sweeping the back end of the Yamaha. And once again, Mikael Pichon, he knows Everts is coming. He glances across and closes down the left-hand line. He heads left, Stefan heads right. And Stefan gets the power down earlier. He keeps the Yamaha low. Once again, cross-rutting a bit on takeoff. Pichon all crossed up. Everts alongside him. Tremendous battle for the lead. Everts goes left, switches right. Ooh, and Mikael Pichon says, no way. Closes the door. Stefan Everts and Cedric Malott. Malott grabbing a tear off in midair. And forcing his teammate wide over the berm. So it's Malott who forces through into second place, showing no mercy on teammate Everts, who, remember, leads the championship at the moment. 6 laps in, Pichon, Malott, Everts. Joel Smets 4.5 seconds behind the leader, ahead of Josh Coppins, and Ken de Deeker through into 6th place on the Saarholz Honda. Cedric Malott showing devastating form, forces Mikael Pichon wide, and Pichon now under pressure from Stefan Everts, who ducks into the Honda's roost. Once again goes left, switches right, and a really classic epic going on now in second and third places. The battle for supremacy between Mikael Pichon and Stefan Everts, launching past the luckless number 220 Honda that ate up the paling fence on lap 1. Everts is through. Yamahas 1 and 2 ahead of the Honda. Can Stefan Everts make any inroads now on Cedric Malott? Everts hasn't won here, remember, since 1996. He'd love to do it again, and he's closing the gap. We saw how ruthlessly Cedric Malott dealt with Stefan Everts earlier in the race. Somehow, I don't think Everts will show any mercy in return. The battle for the lead here at Valkenswaard. A packed house of Dutch and Belgian fans. Valkenswaard only just across the border in the south of Holland, so plenty of Belgian fans make the trip to support the likes of Everts and Smets. Cedric Malott holding on well against his more experienced rival, but he immediately lets Stefan Everts through, just gets a bit too hot into the turn, runs wide, and Everts grabs the advantage. Stefan Everts now coolly looking over his shoulder. And he takes the checkered flag at the end of a rip-snorting second race here in the Netherlands. Stefan Everts relieved to have won, and Joel Smets kept the pressure on right to the end on Suzuki number 3. Stefan Everts then wins the second moto ahead of Cedric Malott and Joel Smets. Pichon a gallant 4th ahead of Josh Coppins, Kevin Strybos, Gunderson and Steve Ramon on the 2 KTM 7th and 8th. Yoshia Tsuta, brave ride indeed on the track that claimed him 2 years ago, finishes ahead of Estonian Tanel Liok on the first 250cc two-stroke home. And Everts, once again on a tiebreaker, takes the verdict with his second race win and takes the overall Grand Prix victory ahead of Cedric Malott and Joel Smets. Yoshi Atsuta, 9th place overall, ahead of Loris Freebergs and Tanel Liok. Josh Coppins, a disappointing 12th place. And in the championship, Yamaha have got an advantage now over Honda of 12 points in the manufacturer's standings. KTM 3rd, Suzuki 4th. The German Grand Prix, Teuschenthal, round 5, and Michael Pichon in pole position has suffered a massive crash that knocked him unconscious right at the end of qualifying. He's taken painkilling injections. Will he be able to last the course? So Pichon, number 2, struggling here, but a massive crash in the first turn. And once again, it has claimed Pichon's luckless compatriot Christophe Martin, number 45, on his Yamaha. So the Cazzoli Yamaha, the German-based Yamaha team, Frenchman Christophe Martin buried underneath the bike as Brian Jorgensen challenges for the lead on Tishali Honda, number 8, and grabs it from Kevin Strybos. Strybos then forced back to second place. A classic German track here at Teuschenthal. Superb grassy valley. The German fans as ever flocking to their home event. Brian Jorgensen, the Dane, former European champion way back in 1994, he's in the lead. Kevin Strybos 2nd. 3rd, KTM's Steve Ramon. 4th place, his fellow world champion, number 72, Stefan Everts, Rinaldi Yamaha. The battle already been joined between these three for 2nd, 3rd and 4th places. Stefan Everts looking desperately for a way round Steve Ramon this early in the race. Weather conditions, just a little damp here, pretty treacherous. The track very, very slick. Everts risks slamming his way through a puddle on the inside of the circuit, but still can't find a way through. But he gets side by side with Ramon over the hilltop. Strybos showing his best form yet on a slick, hard pack surface like this. But Brian Yogi Jorgensen, the ultimate stylist, 28-year-old Dane in the lead. Everts absolutely sideways, getting the power down a bit too keenly. Ramon still holding him off here at Teuschenthal. And Everts being challenged now by his teammate Cedric Malott. Malott proving that he's not the least bit overawed or fazed by Everts' fame and legendary status within the sport. He's a teammate, he's on the same machine, he's there to be beaten. Joel Smets is the man on the Suzuki right behind Everts now. So the men who have got something like 12 world championships between them, separated by 12 inches on the track. Everts 72. And halfway through the race, Brian Jorgensen is still in the lead. The Dane has had some surgery on his troublesome wrists. He was suffering from numbness in his left hand in the latter stages of races early on in the season. He's had that attended to while there was a break in racing, and he's come back fitter and healthier than ever, and he's proving it. This is Michael Pichon, astoundingly still there, although back down in 11th place, just ahead of the 250cc two-stroke Suzuki of the British-based Estonian Express, Tanel Liok. Liok, only 18 years old, attacking Pichon hard. Pichon, who probably doesn't know what day of the week it is, let alone what track he's racing on, gallantly holding on to claim some precious points. But of course he'll be losing out big time in the championship chase. The Frenchman just a bit too overambitious during qualifying, already held pole position time, wanted to go faster and paid the penalty by crashing hard into the fast takeoff ramp on the face of a jump, knocking himself completely cold. There's a Steve Ramon coming under pressure now from Cedric Malott. KTM versus Yamaha. The battle on for the podium places. Cedric Malott almost losing control as he landed. But he breaks clear of Steve Ramon and Stefan Everts and begins to close the gap on leader Brian Jorgensen. Jorgensen leads. Malott there in second place for Yamaha. Third and fourth places, Ramon and Stefan Everts. And this is Kevin Strybos. Right behind him, Cedric Malott, and Strybos goes down. Strybos goes down and turns in disbelief towards the fallen Suzuki. Has he managed to keep the engine going as Steve Ramon covers him in dirt to add to the injustice of it all? Brian Jorgensen relatively untroubled at the front. The Tishali Honda team, so used to cheering on Stefan Everts, can hardly believe this is happening. Yogi Jorgensen, is he headed for his first race win of 2004? If he was, the surgery was well worth it. Brian Jorgensen, former Danish, British and European 125cc champion, fourth in MX1 in 2003, also of course on Honda. Looking for that first victory, and he's going to get it here at Teussenthal. Brian Jorgensen takes victory in Germany and puts himself right back in the championship frame. Behind him, Cedric Malott and Stefan Everts, second and third. Steve Ramon, fourth. Jules Smets, fifth. And Josh Coppins, not so happy with sixth place ahead of the veteran Marnique Bevolts. Mikael Pichon bravely hangs on to 10th place, fending off Tanel Leok. MX1 Race 2 round the beautiful Talcassel circuit in the rolling fields outside Teussenthal. The hamlet based only a few kilometres down the road from the town of Halle, deep in the former Eastern Germany. And Mikael Pichon bravely right up front once again after further injections to give him a chance of racing here in Germany. But it's his teammate, first race winner, Brian Jorgensen, once more demonstrating his liking of the track here in Teussenthal, who takes the lead. Pichon in third place. Bad start for Cedric Malott downfield on the Rinaldi Yamaha. An even worse start for number 48, Christian Burnham, on the Chambers KTM. At the front, Jorgensen leads from Kenneth Gunderson in second place on KTM number 10. Jorgensen, enormously confident, flicks off a tear-off while sideways in mid-air. Jorgensen leads, and Stefan Everts has forced his Yamaha through into third place, challenging Kenneth Gunderson. Fourth place, the leading Suzuki of Joel Smets. Fifth place, the remarkable Mikael Pichon, hanging on in front of Josh Coppins and his Cass Honda. Coppins sixth, Ramon seventh, Bevolts in eighth place. And back in 12th place, the oldest man in the race, the German-based South African 36-year-old Colin Geek Dugmore on his Saarholz Honda. And that is Kenneth Gunderson falling prey to a sweeping move by Stefan Everts, who munches his way through into second place, but Gunderson bravely responds, forces his way back underneath the Yamaha. Kenneth Gunderson not giving up without a Norwegian fight here. And Everts bringing out the Viking in the Norwegian. Talking of Vikings, the man from Copenhagen, Brian Jorgensen, his anxious wife watching his every move. He's in the lead. He's looking for a double victory, a famous double victory here at Teussenthal, where we first witnessed a 250cc Eastern German Grand Prix. The last ever East German Grand Prix was held here back in 1971, won by the legendary six-time world champion Joël Robert of Belgium. Talking about legendary world champions, Stefan Everts still locked in battle with Kenneth Gunderson. This time knocks Gunderson aside. Kenneth almost stalls, just recovers in time to fend off Joel Smets Suzuki. Second place then for Stefan Everts. Can he make inroads now into Brian Jorgensen's advantage? Third place now for Joel Smets. Kenneth Gunderson back into the clutches of Josh Coppins in fourth place. But moments later, Kenneth Gunderson has a massive crash on an uphill step and is sidelined with a knee injury. Fourth place then now for Coppins. But this man, Brian Jorgensen, with 2 laps to go, needs help from nobody. The 2000 British 125 champion with Dixon's Yamaha is headed for victory here. Or is he? Stefan Everts closing the gap, lapping consistently a second faster than Jorgensen. The race is on and she knows it. Everts closing in all the time. Less than 2 laps to go here at Teussenthal. And they can do no more for him into the last lap. It's down to Yogi to hold on to the advantage he's got over Stefan Everts, just to make things a bit trickier. A very slight rainfall has returned. She's aging before our very eyes. But Jorgensen still has about a dozen bike lengths advantage over the great Stefan Everts. He's hanging on by his fingertips. He's headed surely for victory in the German Grand Prix of 2004. He's getting the thumbs up trackside. Obviously not from Belgian fans. Everts coolly clearing his vision in midair. And Jorgensen getting unusually ragged. He knocks a hay bale almost into the path of Stefan Everts. Perhaps it was a tactical move. Everts still clawing him back. This is going to go right to the wire. The closing stages of the final lap of the second race here in Germany. Brian Jorgensen cuts it tight, lifts himself up out of the rut, gets the power down. Stefan Everts uses the rut to propel himself in pursuit. And they're almost in sight of the checkered flag. Stefan Everts still on the case, down to 3 lengths advantage now for Jorgensen. But Everts steps out, just applies the power a bit too early, loses momentum. He's got to claw it back now. Jorgensen, I've never seen him look this ragged. Everts is right with him, trying to pressure him into a mistake. And Jorgensen finally crosses the line, raises an exultant left fist, clenches his right hand. He's beaten Stefan Everts by 2 bike lengths. He takes the overall victory with that second race result. Everts second, Smets a distant third, Coppins fourth. And the unlucky Kenneth Gunderson, well, he turns out to be out for the season with a severe knee injury after that huge crash, after racing so well early on. Mikael Pichon, a brave fading 9th ahead of the first 252-stroke Tanel Leok on the Motorvision Suzuki. 15th place for Chambers KTM's Christian Burnham. His teammate Mark Huckelbridge getting the final championship point in 20th place behind Scotsman Stuart Flockhart on his Meredith Honda. Kenneth Gunderson up there in 25th place, but actually down and out for the rest of the year. KTM reduced to 1 man, Steve Ramon, with their factory 450 K2. Overall, Brian Jorgensen a perfect 50 ahead of Stefan Everts and Cedric Malott, but that will do Stefan Everts' championship advantage no harm at all, because he's well ahead of his nearest pursuers in the race. 218 points for Everts now means that he's 40 points clear of Cedric Malott. Steve Ramon in third place. Mikael Pichon salvages enough points to stay fourth ahead of Josh Coppins. Round 6 of the World Motocross Championship brings us to Lichtenvoorde for the Grand Prix of Benelux. Lichtenvoorde in eastern Holland. Tough Dutch sand once again. And Joel Smets gets his first pole position of the season for Suzuki. Absent from the starting lineup, the German Grand Prix victor Brian Jorgensen dislocated his shoulder during practice and hasn't made it to the start line. One Suzuki leads, another Suzuki goes down in the first turn, and it's a Suzuki 1-2 with poleman Joel Smets being headed by his teenage teammate, number 24, Kevin Strybos. Third place, inevitably, number 72, Stefan Everts, the championship leader. And number 48, Christian Burnham, making a brilliant start on the Chambers KTM, is in 5th place as Steve Ramon charges inside Stefan Everts and annexes 3rd place. At the front, the Suzukis are in the lead. Third for KTM's, but down goes number 3, Joel Smets. And Joel Smets, having set that first ever pole position for a 450 Suzuki, ends up burying it in the sand. Now he's side by side with Cedric Malott. Kevin Strybos now has the advantage for Suzuki. Can he hang on to it? Steve Ramon in second place. Stefan Everts losing a bit of ground, third. And this is a tricky circuit at Lichtenvoorde. Not too much traction available. There is sand, but there's hard pack underneath. And the berms tend to shift and move every lap. So it's almost like a different racetrack every time you come round. Steve Ramon, though, getting to grips with the leader, Kevin Strybos. And Stefan Everts, having regrouped, is beginning to mount a charge in third place. Strybos, look at the lack of grip, absolutely sideways. And Ramon following suit. Strybos tries to block Steve. But Ramon gets a terrific surge of power down from the KTM and rasps past to the front. Steve Ramon, first race winner of the series in Zolder, takes the lead here at Lichtenvoorde. Third is still Stefan Everts. Fourth, Cedric Malott. Fifth, Mikael Pichon. Sixth place, Joel Smets. And Pichon, once again, the only man who can get in amongst those barnstorming Belgians in the sand. Christian Burnham, after that bright start, is seventh, ahead of Josh Coppins and Xavier Garcia-Vico. Marko Kovalainen, former Finnish champion, in 10th place. Stefan Everts almost alongside Strybos. Is it only a matter of time? Oh, not very much time. Everts just outguns him out of the right-hander, and he's through into second place. Back in fifth place, pole man Joel Smets. And this is a classic Dutch track. In fact, so classic that back in 1957, the first ever World Championship Dutch Motocross Grand Prix took place here in Lichtenvoorde and was won by the legendary Swede Bill Nilsson. Mikael Pichon down in sixth place, struggling with the shoulder injury that he suffered when he knocked himself cold a week previously at Teufelsschal during time training. The gap at the front beginning to close. Steve Ramon, quiet, shy, reserved Belgian, beginning to get worn down now by Stefan Everts. Once again, the Belgians proving their superiority in the sand. Can the 125 world champ hold on? Everts gets more airtime and heads right over to the right-hand side. The KTM factory mechanic hangs himself so far out, he's nearly caught the riders with his board, and it inspires Ramon to retaliate. The fight is on for the lead. Lichtenvoorde, classic Dutch track, bringing out the absolute best in these riders. Pichon pushed back to sixth place by Joel Smets. So the Belgians now smear the top 5 places in the leaderboard. Coppins past Burnham into 7th place. Tanel Leok's 252-stroke Suzuki has made it through to 11th, while number 11, still in the lead, Steve Ramon. Winding on those roll-ons is number 72, Stefan Everts, trying to clear his vision and prepare himself for another attack through the flying sand that's being roosted up by the back wheel of the KTM. Just 2.5 minutes plus 2 laps remains, and Stefan Everts this time makes a clean pass on Steve Ramon. Can Ramon retaliate? He does, by taking the same line that Everts used on the previous lap. Oh, but he tries so hard to drive Everts clean out of his sight that he goes cross purposes right to the outside line and loses ground. But Ramon showing more fighting spirit than we've seen from him so far this year. And Kevin Strybos holding on to these guys in front of him. 18 years old. Hard to believe how little experience he's got, but of course he's got a load of experience when it comes to sand. Behind him, Cedric Malott in 4th place, the second Rinaldi Yamaha. And with so much of this series based in the Benelux countries, it really does strongly favour the Belgian champions. And Stefan Everts proves that point by winning race 1 here at Lichtenvoorde ahead of Ramon, Malot, Strybos and Smets, with Pichon, Coppins and Garcia Vico finishing a very fine 8th, the Spaniard still on his black Honda. 9th Christian Burnham, 10th Tanel Leoch. Lichtenvoorde, race 2, Joel Smets back on pole position as race director Dave Nichol gets escorted to the side of the track. You don't trust him to get out of the way on his own. And into the lead goes Kevin Strybos, but his teammate Joel Smets gets buried in the mid-pack. Strybos it is alongside Stefan Everts exiting turn 2, and Everts immediately gets huge airtime and hurls the Yamaha to the front. Uncompromising action then from the reigning world champion. Joel Smets has gone down on the first corner, so Smets, his day going from bad to worse, and Kevin Strybos absolutely sideways takes the left-hand lane to try and get round Stefan Everts. They almost collide and Everts responds. Malot is 3rd, Pichon 4th, and Sven Breugelmann, wildcard rider from the MX3 class, the up to 650cc World Cup of Motocross, is up there in 5th place. So Strybos holding off Cedric Malot, but not for long. Malot tries the left-hand lane this time, but it's a little further round, and Strybos still has the advantage. Oh, Malot ruthlessly block passes the young Belgian and surges through into 2nd place. Meantime, Mikael Pichon moves through to apply pressure. Christian Burnham and the Chambers KTM, another great start from Burnham. He's in 6th place. Stefan Everts now 10.5 seconds clear of his teammate and almost able to hit the cruise button at this stage in the race. Malot not quite so tidy, waving a leg. He lies 2nd. Michele Rinaldi obviously astutely signing up the 25-year-old Belgian at the end of 2003. He'd ridden a private Honda last year. This is Kevin Strybos, an equally astute signing by Sylvain Gabors for his Suzuki Grand Prix team. And some of the best weather we've had all year here as Christian Burnham finds himself coming under pressure in a pack with Xavier Garcia-Vico, Tanel Leoch and Josh Coppins. Leoch, the teenage Estonian, number 40, loves racing in sand. And he's the 250cc two-stroke amongst these 450 four-stroke missiles. The battle on for 5th place. Burnham, Coppins and Loris Freebergs. So 2 Eastern Europeans in the mix here. At the front, Stefan Everts, riding his favourite number 72, the year in which he was born, November 1972, 7 times world champion. He has a 12.7 second gap over his teammate Cedric Malot. Well, if Cedric was hoping to learn a bit from Stefan Everts in his year as his teammate, he's got to get close enough to see him first. Malot, number 7, in 2nd place. A little bit wilder, not quite so neat, feet not pinned to the pegs in the same immaculate fashion as Stefan Everts. And in 3rd place, seeking his first podium finish on the 450c Suzuki, is Kevin Strybos. Kevin Strybos being closed down now by Mikael Pichon. They're in 3rd and 4th places. Can the Honda mow down that Suzuki? Mikael Pichon plied his trade throughout the late 1990s in the USA with considerable success. With 2 laps to go, Stefan Everts at the front. He did threaten to go and race in America, but decided in the end that his future lay in Europe, and he's absolutely destroyed the record books over the last 3 seasons. The virtual GP winner then, Stefan Everts, yet again. We're almost losing count of the number of Grand Prix he's won. And there is Michele Rinaldi, the first Italian to win a Motocross World Championship back in 1984 for Suzuki. He now runs this fabulously successful Rinaldi Yamaha team, and Stefan Everts has just won him the Dutch Grand Prix. Malott second, Strybos third, Mikael Pichon battling hard but having to settle for fourth place, and Kevin Strybos celebrates his first podium. But look at Tanel Leok. He found himself in sixth place on the 250cc two-stroke Motorvision Suzuki. Christian Burnham in ninth place for Chambers KTM, and James Noble landing 12th place for RWJ Honda ahead of Yoshi Atsuta. Overall, a perfect 50 for Stefan Everts ahead of Malott and Strybos. Pichon, Coppins and Garcia Vico rounding out the top six. A great result that for Javier Garcia Vico. Sand not usually his strength. More Belgians, of course, rounding out the top 20. In 13th place, unlucky for some, and certainly unlucky on the day for Georges Smets. The championship standings, and an extending advantage for Stefan Everts ahead of teammate Cedric Malott. Steve Ramon, a Belgian 1-2-3 with Mikael Pichon almost on terms with Ramon in fourth place. After a 4-year absence, Motocross Grand Prix racing finally returns to the shores of the British Isles. Araton, the Gore Basin on the Isle of Wight for the British Grand Prix. And Mikael Pichon once again back on pole position with the Tishali Honda. And it is Coppins in perfect weather conditions. 25,000 people gathered round this magnificent circuit, who rockets up the inside initially in second place, but very quickly snatches the lead on a huge uphill jump. Pichon taking the slingshot wide line around Cedric Malott's Rinaldi Yamaha leads the British Grand Prix. The first time we've seen a British Grand Prix since that washed out affair at Foxhill Motor Park in Wiltshire back in the year 2000. A good start for number 31, the leader of the British Open Championship. And here he comes on the Cass Honda, the New Zealander Josh Coppins. Coppins flies through ahead of Malott into second place. And hitting the very nasty whoop section. Whoops, of course, inspired originally by Supercross stadiums in the USA. Pichon, a successful Supercrosser in the States during his time over there, knows how to handle them. Josh Coppins, a great Supercross rider as well. He's comfortable on them. They lie first and second for Tishali and Cass Honda. Wonderful sight here, classic motocross terrain, classic layout, and a huge and classic and enthusiastic British crowd. Pichon, number 2, Coppins, 31. Cedric Malott, number 7, ahead of his teammate, number 72, Stefan Everts. And a wild moment there for Malott, and Kenneth Gunderson making his premature return despite having suffered a severe knee injury at Teutschenthal in Germany. Finds that he's struggling to get back onto race pace. Stefan Everts moves past Cedric Malott and looks threatening in third place. Pichon, Coppins, Josh Coppins, his 10th year of Grand Prix racing, he still hasn't won a Grand Prix. And this is the day he wants to do it. Steve Ramon is 5th. Tanel Leok, a flying 6th on that screaming 252-stroke Suzuki. Monique Pavot's second oldest man here. A year younger than Colin Dugmore in 13th place on the Sarholz Honda, the effervescent South African, whose career best Grand Prix result was here in the UK in the 1990s. At the front, the battle on between the two Hondas, but a third Honda, Tishali Honda's Brian Jorgensen, winner of the German Grand Prix, crashes out just as Joel Smets goes past, and Yogi's hurt himself. Not comfortable at all. Brian Jorgensen goes out. Stefan Everts is still here. Still very much in the race, but not able to live with the Hondas at the front. The battle at the front between the two Hondas as Brian Jorgensen seeks attention. Remember, he dislocated his shoulder a round ago and had to miss the race. Pichon leads by 2 seconds from Josh Coppins. Everts, Malott and Steve Ramon involved in a terrific three-way scrap for third. All of them want to be on the rostrum. But for once, they're not at the front because the race is being dominated by Mikael Pichon and this man, Josh Coppins. Coppins styling it over the huge jumps, but he's had to let Mikael Pichon go. Pichon has pulled out a 7-second advantage over the Kiwi. And Steve Ramon has blockbusted his way past Stefan Everts into third place and opened up a substantial 5-second advantage. Bavots, Dedica and Marco Kovalainen, with Luigi Segai, the Frenchman, rounding out the top 10 ahead of James Noble and Yoshi Atsuta. Joel Smets, making his way back into the points, is now 14th ahead of Scotsman Stuart Flockhart. And on to his last lap. Mikael Pichon headed for victory here at Araton on the Isle of Man. These are conditions that the Frenchman loves. Hard-baked track, plenty of lines. Slippery, tricky. But he's got it all under control. He takes the checkered flag and wins ahead of Josh Coppins, Steve Ramon. Great ride from the KTM star, Stefan Everts. And Tanel Leok gets the better of Cedric Malott in the closing stages to take a brilliant 5th place. Leok, of course, based in the UK this season. Christian Burnham also gets points for Chambers KTM. Race 2 of the British Grand Prix in the magnificent setting of the Isle of Wight, and Steve Ramon storms up the hill to snatch an early advantage from Kevin Strybos. Josh Coppins is also up there, so too is Mikael Pichon and Stefan Everts on the Rinaldi Yamaha. And a Kawasaki falls right at the back. I think it might be Antoine Meo, the Frenchman, who has gone down on the De Groot Kawasaki. One of the few two-stroke 250s in the race. Ramon still leads from Kevin Strybos. But we know how fast the Hondas are around here. Through the whoop section. Ramon holds the advantage. Josh Coppins using the whoops to make good ground on his rivals. And Mikael Pichon likewise has moved through to second place. And this is an absolutely jump-infested circuit here on the Isle of Wight as Mikael Pichon negotiates the deep ruts of the S-bend to get right onto the back wheel of Steve Ramon's KTM. Pichon showed terrific speed in race 1, cleared off to win it almost comfortably in the end, and looks threateningly as if he could do the same again. The Tishali Honda crew getting right behind him. An Italian team, a French rider, a load of success. The Suzuki side by side. Joel Smets, Kevin Strybos and Josh Coppins try to find a way through. Collides with Joel Smets. Smets stays on board. He holds down that 4th place. Coppins 5th, Everts back in 6th place with a lot of work to do. And look at Steve Ramon responding to the attack of Mikael Pichon. But is it enough? Jorgensen 7th, Leok 8th, Cedric Malott down in 9th place. Ramon pushed back to 2nd, now has Kevin Strybos and Joel Smets for company. And here comes Coppins and down goes Steve Ramon. He lands in the straw bales across the whoops and down he goes. Joel Smets goes by. Big mistake there, gets offline on takeoff. There's nothing he can do about it. Unfortunately, the other riders are able to avoid both him and his machine. Pichon then, left alone at the front for the moment. The dust clouds beginning to rise on this red-hot summer's day on the Isle of Wight as Josh Coppins neatly rides round Kevin Strybos, annexes 2nd place and sets off in pursuit of Pichon. Strybos still there in 3rd place. An inspired Josh Coppins, leader of the British Open Championship, which will visit Araton on the Isle of Wight on this very track for the final round of the series. He's leaving behind Strybos, who's got Stefan Everts for company now. Everts, neat, Tidy, clinical, cool, right on the back wheel now, attacking his teenage compatriot. Oh, and turning the Yamaha on an old-fashioned sixpence. But look at Coppins, a 5-second advantage now over Everts, and he's closing the gap on race leader Miguel Rocket Pichon. Can he catch the first race winner? Of course, if he did that, if he were to win the second race, it would give him his first ever Grand Prix victory. He knows it, so does his team. And what a better place to do it than his adopted homeland, for this season at least, Cass Honda's British Grand Prix. Side by side, Pichon doing his best to fend off Coppins. Here comes Coppins, round the outside, launches inside downhill. What a brave move. He snatches the lead from Miguel Pichon, and the British crowd cheer him on like he's a homeboy. And he's beginning to open up a gap. Remarkable, riding like a man possessed. His 10th season of Grand Prix racing. He first entered the Grand Prix scene, finishing 41st on the Suzuki in 1995. That was Michelle Prince, the wife of team manager of Cass Honda, Neil Prince, desperately urging on their man. Stefan Everts still there in third place, but really he's of no consequence now. The battle is on between the Hondas, not just for the race win, but also for the Grand Prix victory. And once again, problems for Brian Jorgensen. He's stalled the Tishali Honda, and those 450s, once they're hot, they don't restart easily.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Coppins still there at the front. He's fought off Miguel Pichon. The Cass Honda camp are going completely bananas, and Josh still has the advantage now as he drops down to the checkered flag. A last lap mistake by Miguel Pichon lets Josh Coppins off the hook, and he's finally tasted victory. After 10 years of trying, Josh Coppins wins the second race, and with it the overall victory in the British Motocross Grand Prix. We finally have a new name there on the Grand Prix record books. A good ride for James Noble in 11th place, Stuart Flockhart 13th, Jordan Rose on the Emerson Racing Yamaha in 15th place. But overall, the tiebreaker goes in the favour of the New Zealander Josh Coppins from Motueka, who first came over as a 17-year-old to contest Grand Prix. Everts finishes third. Tanel Leok, a season's best fourth place for Motorvision Suzuki. And James Noble, 10th overall for RWJ Honda. World Championship. Stefan Everts, Cedric Malott, still a Yamaha 1-2. Miguel Pichon now in third place, but Josh Coppins only 6 points behind him in fourth. The Grand Prix of France at Saint-Jean-d'Angely, and Miguel Pichon on home territory. Once again on pole position. Steve Ramon, 0.03 of a second quicker than Stefan Everts, is second fastest. Saint-Jean-d'Angely last hosted a Grand Prix in 2002, the small town in the west of France, close to La Rochelle and not too far from the city of Bordeaux. A fabulous circuit which held its first 250cc Grand Prix 20 years ago and witnessed the first ever Grand Prix motor win by a Frenchman, the great Jackie Vimont, on a Sonato Yamaha. Well, the first man out of the blocks here is the winner from the Isle of Wight, Josh Coppins. Josh Coppins leads from Yves de Maria, the 32-year-old contestant for KTM of the MX3 World Cup, in second place, bike number 78. Yves de Maria, who 10 years ago finished third in his debut season in the 250cc Motocross Grand Prix. But the hugely confident Josh Coppins, on a high after winning in the Isle of Wight a week earlier, is in the lead. Stefan Everts in third place behind de Maria. De Maria, of course, a hot pre-season favourite for the 650cc MX3 Open Class Series, which he is contesting for the official Austrian KTM factory team. He's second on the 450 KTM. Third on the 450 Yamaha is Stefan Everts. And this is the evil sandy whoop section that's been put down at the top, and it catches out Yves de Maria, the Frenchman, the fly. After a flying start, And he's hurt himself as well. It looks like he might have hurt his wrist, and he really doesn't want to adversely affect his chances in the MX3 Championship. So out, down and out goes Yves de Maurier. Josh Coppins leads, Stefan Everts in second place. Third place is pole position man Mikhail Rocket Pichon, who is actually advised and trained and coached these days by Jackie Vimong, the man who won here 20 years ago and went on 2 years later to become France's first ever world motocross champion. A problem here for Kevin Strybos. He goes out as Stefan Everts attacks and gets wide and clatters the paling fencing as he tries to get round Josh Coppins. Perfect racing conditions, a perfect setting, a beautiful traditional French motocross circuit here at Saint-Jean-d'Angely. And there's the man from Le Mans to the northeast of Paris who wants to win here, Mikhail Pichon, bike number 2. But the guy who beat him in that nail-biter in the Isle of Wight, number 31, Josh Coppins, is still there at the front. Here comes Stefan Everts. Everts cuts tight. He gets the power down masterfully and takes the lead. Coppins, 27-year-old Kiwi, in second place. Pichon right behind him. But not any longer. Pichon gets the narrow line and manages to vault past into the lead and then chops to the left-hand side, blocks Coppins' exit. He's now through to second. And terrific roars of applause from the French crowd. The tricolours are waving. They want to see him catch Stefan Everts. Those continental horns and klaxons deafening round the valley. The flags are waving, the fists are out. The tension palpable. Stefan Everts leads. Mikhail Pichon pressing hard behind him. Vimong said that the most important work he does with Pichon is mental preparation, to try and get him, as he beautifully describes it, lighter in his mind, more relaxed. But it's not working today because Stefan Everts looks as if he's the boss here at Saint-Jean-d'Angely. An appropriate setting for a pre-race presentation to the legendary Dunlop chief of motorsport, Jean-Pierre Lebay, who celebrates his 60th birthday this very weekend. Stefan Everts, he's celebrating nothing but a potential race victory by detuning this vast French crowd here in Western France. There is a Belgian flag waving right there. They follow him to the ends of the earth. First ever World Championship in 1991 with Suzuki, the 125, when he won 5 Grand Prix that year. And then in 95, 96 and 97, a hat-trick of 250cc Grand Prix World Championships. First with Kawasaki and then 2 with Honda. No wonder the thumbs are going up from the Rinaldi Yamaha squad. Another hat-trick of victories, 2001, 2 and 3, has taken his total up to an astonishing 7. And unless this man, Mikhail Pichon, can really do something about it, then Stefan Everts may well be headed for title number 8. 2 laps to go. Mikhail Pichon. All Jackie Vimong's efforts don't look to have worked this time around. Stefan Everts is going to take victory, and he does, in front of the exultant Rinaldi Yamaha squad. The first race win in France goes to the reigning world champion. Second place for Mikhail Pichon. Third place, Josh Coppins. Fourth, Cedric Malot. And in sixth place, another Frenchman, Luigi Segai, heading the 250cc De Groot Kawasaki of Antoine Meo. Brian Jorgensen, 8th. James Noble and Christian Burnham both in the top 10 ahead of the second 252 stroke of Tanel Leok. Yoshi Atsuta 14th for Cass Honda. Mikhail Pichon on pole position once more, describes the first turn at Saint-Jean-d'Angely as crazy. Well, he's got to get through it first to stand a chance of beating Stefan Everts. Jackie Vimong, of course, masterminded Sebastian Tortelli's defeat of Stefan Everts in the 1998 250cc World Championship. Number 40, Tanel Leok. on the left-hand side of picture gets outgunned off the start by the mighty 450s. What a terrifyingly fast uphill right-hander that is. And it's Stefan Everts who bursts to the front. Pichon didn't get the start he wanted. He's there in second place. Josh Coppins ruthlessly cuts across into fourth place. He knows he can't afford to let the leaders get away. But Stefan Everts amazingly has made the start once more as he drops downhill, the first race winner at the front. And once again, one of the Kawasaki's well up. It might well be Frenchman Antoine Mayo, who had such a good outing in race one. It's amazing what home territory can do for a man. And there is Mayo, just ahead of number 7, side by side with Cedric Melot. Pichon round the outside. Jackie Vimon will have impressed on him the need to take an early advantage over Stefan Everts. Surely the only way he's going to make the Belgian crack. Under the baking sun, the track really dried out. Hard pack, almost blue groove now, except for those ruthless sandy whoops at the top of the hill. Everts leads, Pichon in second place. How many times have we said that this year? Pichon short over the tabletop, loses a few vital feet. Up the hill he goes with number 78, Yves Demarie, back out there in third place ahead of Josh Coppins. Hideous, that sandy piece there that's completely unlike any of the other terrain around this circuit. Everts amazingly motivated, been doing this for so long, although having said that, his father Harry, himself a 4 times world champion, didn't let him start racing until he was 13 years old. Yves Demarie third, number 78, fourth, Josh Coppins. At the front, the battle is well and truly on, and again, the crowd begin to get excited. Can Pichon do it this time? Mayo is there in 5th place, Malot still behind him in 6th. Brian Jorgensen in 8th place ahead of Sven Breugelmans and Steve Ramon. And Vincent Turpin just outside the top 10, yet another Frenchman on home ground. Michael Pichon looks to be in trouble. He's beginning to slow up. He looked over his shoulder then. And Pichon definitely is in trouble. Pichon beginning to slow up. And he's getting caught now by Yves Demarie, the man from Marseille. So southern Frenchman versus northern Frenchman, but it's hardly any sort of battle because it looks as if Pichon's up on the pegs and cruising, and he's in real trouble. Pichon, his wheel is breaking up. It's taken such a hammering already at this stage in the race that Michael Pichon is slowing up with a broken wheel, and he rides out back to the pits as Antoine Mayo goes down. He drops the De Groot Kawasaki, so both the Frenchmen go out at once. What a cruel blow for the crowd. The battle on for second place now between Yves Demarie and Josh Coppins. Demarie just dropping in for the day to let the MX1 brigade know that at 32 he's not yet over the hill. He's been contesting Grand Prix for half his life since the age of 16 in 1988 when he first rode the 125 Grand Prix for Yamaha. Number 78, Yves the Fly Demarie, still there in second place ahead of Josh Coppins. And Coppins a second faster on lap 4, trying to close the gap. But Stefan Everts now has a 5-second cushion, having lost his main rival, Michael Pichon. Demarie second, Coppins third. Kurt Nickel, the KTM team boss, himself 4 times runner-up in the World 500cc Motocross Championship in the late 80s and early 90s. Pretty thrilled with the way Yves Demarie is performing here. He'll be even more pleased if Yves actually takes that MX3 World Cup crown this year. Stefan Everts, feet pinned to the pegs, customary immaculate style, leads the way here in France. And of course, since he joined Michele Rinaldi at Yamaha and enjoyed a flourish of success, he's also been once again working with his father, the 4-time world champion Harry Everts, who guided him to that first world championship in 1991 at the age of just 18. Stefan Everts, Not even showboating, just standing high and proud on the foot pegs and absorbing the applause of a generous French crowd as he takes the checkered flag for 2 clean wins at Saint-Jean-d'Angely. Josh Commins finally squeezes past Yves de Mario to nail second. Steve Ramon is fourth. Tanel Leok, another brilliant ride to fifth. And Yoshi Atsuta, a season's best 6th place for the ebullient Japanese star. Christian Burnham once more top 10 for Chambers KTM. And notice the Italian TM of Enrico Ordonino getting points there in 15th place. Overall then, Everts wins it from Coppins and Ramon. Luigi Segai takes an almost unobtrusive 4th place overall, the best Frenchman on the day, ahead of Leok. Pichon sadly left with just 9th place to show overall after going out of race 2. And the World Championship manufacturers' positions show that Yamaha are still hanging out at the top there, 14 points ahead of Honda.